Hi there. So I just kind of wanted to talk about some of the stuff that I have learned in this course up till now. Something really important to me personally is all of the like vocabulary that we're learning involving the IEP process. Something really important to me is the least restrictive environment, or the LRE, where your goal is basically to get a student in the environment that accommodates them the most. So basically just not taking them out of classes if they don't need to be taken out, essentially. Um, some of the vocabulary that's come up within these meetings, or planning meetings for IEPs and things similar to that, have come up in my summer job, which is at a daycare for school-age children up to fourth or fifth grade. So it's actually pretty useful to me right now, and is really going to help me as I move forward, through my education and teaching career. Something else that's really important is the universal design for learning, which we've been learning pretty recently. I've had this brought up in other classes, but I just believe it's a really important concept, and having basically a lot of teachers be on the same page and support this ideology is very important to helping students be in the best, most inclusive environment that they possibly could be.
Hi guys. A couple of takeaways from this course. This has been my first special education class, so the foundation of my knowledge of everything that I need to know in order to lead an inclusive classroom has come from this course so far. One of the main things that I am taking away is the IEP. I had no idea what that was. I had never heard of it before. I had no idea of any of the process of what it takes to be able to identify a student who might need one, the process of who's involved when writing one, how to evaluate a student, and I'm aware that that will eventually be something that I will need to do as an educator, so that is definitely something that I'm taking away from this course. Another thing that I'm taking away is how important it is to have a positive and open relationship with the parents of your children that you're teaching, especially when you are teaching a student that has a disability and the parents need to be much more involved. That's something that I learned and something that I didn't really think of. When I thought of special education, I mostly just thought about what it took within the school, and I wasn't thinking so much about how involved the parents also need to be and how they need to be kept in the loop with decisions being made for their child.
Hi everyone, my name is Jillian, and today I'm going to talk about a few things that I've learned from the past week or so of our class period. We have talked a lot throughout the entire class period about different practices in the classroom and how they can be used to support all types of learners. This week, we focused mainly on differentiation and inclusion, which both fall under the UDL, which stands for Universal Design for Learning, which is essentially the what, how, and the why of teaching. And it's an approach that is created or put in place to have an inclusive learning environment where all learners have the ability to learn no matter what accommodations or barriers they may have in place. So underneath this umbrella term, you have things like differentiation, which is how you alter the education in order to meet students' individual needs. So this also, I've connected this back to the methods of co-teaching, because when you have co-teaching or you have a parapro in the classroom, you kind of sometimes split these students up into different groups and teach them differently in ways that they can learn the best. So I think that co-teaching is really helpful when it comes to differentiation, but it's also just adapting the content and making it accessible to all of the learners in the classroom, no matter their disability or anything like that. And this again will connect to inclusion, because it's in the name. You include everyone and make sure that all students have access to the general education curriculum. With sometimes they need accommodations or supports to remove some of the barriers that they may have, but they have that support in order to learn everything that their peers are learning. So back to UDL. UDL has the what, the how, and the why. And some questions that teachers may ask, I found a very good graphic that I am looking at on my computer, of just like a flow chart kind of, but it never ends. It's continual. So you're asking yourself, what are we here to do? There's the what. Then you need to identify some barriers that students may have with this, and then some supports that can be put in place to remove these barriers. And then you use UDL guidelines to make your learning, and then you teach the material, evaluate, and revise your UDL. It never ends. It continues on and on and on. And same with differentiation. Some examples of differentiation may be providing different levels of text or using different types of grouping, kind of like I mentioned with co-teaching. But it's not just giving easier material to some students or giving someone a different curriculum. It's really just adjusting the process that you use for the education to maximize each student's success within the content area.